Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Charlton Chronicles. This is not Emma. This is Callum. I'm hosting today. I don't know why Emma has given me much power, but we are here. I'm here, obviously, as you can see, with Paul and with Steve and Sid. How's everybody doing this evening?
Yeah, good, mate. I've got 3 points.
Yeah, all good.
We're here to discuss a game that I'm struggling to to come up with the words to sort of describe. Whatever that was yesterday at the Valley, we had the manager. We beat the team that finished second, that made the playoff final last year, the losers in the playoff final. Yet by the end of it, our manager was walking off and not clapping anybody and looking incredibly annoyed. And how on earth we got there was one heck of a roller coaster. What are your sort of overall thoughts, Paul, about that game, the crowd reaction, and everything else in between?
Yeah, I don't want to stereotype, but I guess our American friends would say that would be really difficult to process. So, I think, and it was really because the team we played in that biblical deluge back in, was it August, September, was obviously, that was Wilder's first game. It was much changed. And, they were in another team in a false position, as sort of Saints were before when we played them. They were, far and away the better team. It was like the Alamo. I described it as someone as being like the Alamo, and we bought pop guns that first half hour. And then the guy gets himself foolishly sent off. It was more clumsy than anything. He looked a bit sort of Bambi-ish, but he obviously hurt Harvey, quite seriously. I hope the injury's not sort of not out for too long. And then obviously the Tanganga one was completely blatant. He deserved to go. But even when they went down to 9 men, and I knew we were going to have a whole half playing 9 men, I just thought this is a great chance to make some inroads. But actually, even though we scored early, I still wasn't quite confident. And there they were, towards the end of the game, 9 men still giving us problems, posing a threat. And I guess it just, for me, showed that unless you sort of handicap some of these top teams in the division, similarly, send them out with 9 men from the off, we're not going to be able to compete. And I guess that just shows how far we are from where we want to be. We passed it around, we made them work. They were very clever. They slowed the game down. I think it was 83rd minute. Cooper was taking a goal kick, and he took his time taking it. And you would have thought a team that was behind would be rushing to take the kick. Yeah, but he obviously knew he needed to give them time to recover. But yeah, I was still worried going into sort of stoppage time that they were going to sneak a goal, and it would have been a real blow. I mean, you would have said at the beginning from kickoff, we'll take a point from them. But given the circumstances, that would have been almost like losing. So I'm glad we came away with the 3 points. But again, it just showed that we were pretty toothless. I thought that Lyndon Dykes, looked pretty good when he came on. I thought Harry Clark did pretty well, and he lasted the pace, which was good. And I don't think we're going to lose. We're going to really lose James Bree, or we're losing James Bree. I don't think we'll lose much in the way of skill, because I think Harry could do a good job for us down that right hand side. But yeah, it was just we should have put them to the sword. In any circumstance, you say playing a team with 9 men and you had the full 11, we should be taking the mickey. And then if the roles were reversed, they would have actually run up a cricket score. So we'll take the points. It was a weird one. I certainly wasn't celebrating, but it's 3 points on the board, nearer to safety. And let's just move on, because clearly some of these sides we're just not going to compete against. We got away with one, and it was great to get the 3 points. But yeah, I think there are plenty of reasons not to jump for joy. But we move on, and there are teams around us that we can take points off and do well against. But yeah, it does, as I say, it just shows the difference where we need to be from where we are. It's quite colossal, but then we don't have parachute payments. There is such a discrepancy in finance in this division among some of the teams. We just have to accept that, But as I say, all things considered, yeah, as you say, a weird game. But we got the points, and we'll take away. We've stolen them, and we'll sort of, rush away and have a quiet celebration, and then on to Derby.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much that I disagree with that, and with you with there. That wasn't English anyway. You know what I'm trying to say. Stephen Sid, I'm intrigued to find out what you thought of the fan reaction at the end of the game. There, I probably got myself in trouble online yesterday with my sort of reaction to to it. I happen to think it was ever so slightly over the top, shall we say. But I'd be very interested in sort of your reaction when you found out that Nathan didn't come around with the boos that were going around, at least where I was. It was pretty apparent. How do you sort of read what happened at the end there? Because it wasn't particularly comfortable, I don't think.
No, I 100% agree with that. I mean, ultimately, there's two ways of looking at it. Paul's mentioned there, ultimately, we got the 3 points, which is what we want. We've taken 6 points off of a team that just tiny missed out on promotion last year. But the fact that, we were lucky enough to be 0-0 at the time that the sending offs happened, great. The fact that we had so much of the game in the second half, but managed to score, it's debatable whether we want to go there on that. But ultimately, we got the 3 points. I get it. I get where the fans are frustrated. There was a bit of frustration in regards to me and the people around my area yesterday, in regards to certain circumstances that we found ourselves in, places we were on the pitch, not being to use his quote, front-footed enough, not playing on the front foot, not getting, creating chances. And I said to someone yesterday on the back of that, it was all primed up, in my opinion. They get a breakaway, they score, and the 25 minutes that you've wasted playing tippy-tappy in the middle of the park when you could have gone looking for a second, I genuinely think that could have turned the place toxic yesterday. I think if they'd have equalised, I think it would have been a hell of a lot worse than it was. So I get it. I get the frustration on that side. But again, ultimately, it's 3 points. If we'd have all turned up yesterday and said, will you take 3 points as we speak now with a 1-0 win, we'd have all taken it. That's 100%. But yeah, I get it. I don't think Nathan helps himself in these circumstances. It's even okay to potentially walk off, shut his ears to the potential criticism that was happening and deal with it. But then to come out in the post-match interview and then say to everyone, in a nutshell, basically the fans weren't helping, talking about how we're playing against giants in this league. Yeah, we get it. But football's football at the end of the day. The paying public have an opinion. Rightly, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, sometimes it's over the top, sometimes it's not enough. But in regards to the reaction yesterday, I get why the fans were antsy. As I said, I'm pretty sure everyone would have been happy with the 3 points. But yeah, I think as a manager, if you go after the fans or if you put it out there that the fans are the problem, there's only one winner at the end of the day. And I don't care who you are as a manager, you cannot go after a fan base. And I thought potentially he could have held back his frustrations yesterday on the back of that, because ultimately he could have just sat there and said, well, we got the 3 points, everything's good, we'll move on to Tuesday night. But yeah, you could tell there was a bit of angst in his voice, a bit of attitude in his comments. But as I say, and then again, I think on the back of that, people read that, they get more angry than they were when they left the ground, and then they vent their spleen on social media. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one on both sides, but I get it. I do get the frustration.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to respond to a comment in here just because it's from Mark, and Mark and I have good discussions. I think quite often we disagree on a lot of things, but we do so respectfully. I think that he makes a point that I'll bring over to you, Sid, actually, which is he was saying, I didn't agree with the booing, but that booing was a result of a really bad month, but little sign of anything changing. Yes, they were the straws that broke the camel's back. I would look at that and I'd go, if you look at the month, right? Yeah, the Christmas period was poor, right? Fully on board the Christmas period was poor. We played the league leaders at home. We've played a relegation candidate away. But we actually had a 2-goal lead in that game. And we played the most informed side in the division at home. We've taken 5 points off them and not lost any of those 3 games. I'm really struggling to see which camel's back was broken by what straw yesterday, right? That if you'd offered me that last week, I don't know if you agree with me, Sid. Maybe it's a hard question to answer. If you'd offered me that 2 weeks ago, I would have taken those 5, right? The Chelsea game I chuck away. Maybe other people care, but I'd just be interested to. Do you sort of do you agree with that?
I mean, it's kind of half and half because when you look at it, I mean, they've just got 2 players sent off, right? So they're down to 9 men. You've still got 11. So surely you'd use that as an advantage and try to get more goals out of it, seeing as though they won't be able to mark all of their players because they're 2 players down. But I don't think that we honestly took the chances of that. And I think the players just more carried on as it was the start of the game where they hadn't had any red cards. But I mean, yeah, we have had some like bad games throughout Christmas, as you said, Callum. But I mean, still, I don't think it's as bad as we think it was. But then again, I mean, you're playing against 9 men and you've got an advantage of 2 more players. So I don't get why we just didn't use that and take the game into charge of getting more goals, getting a better scoreline. Obviously, I know 1-0 is still good and we got the 3 points, but it could have been better than what it looked and sounded like.
That's a really good point. I think if we go back to the first sort of 30 minutes of that game, there was only one reason we were still in that game after half an hour, and his name was Big Thomas Kaminski. That second save, especially with his foot, is honestly, it's perfect goalkeeping, which I will very rarely give goalkeepers credit for. But big, strong angle, perfectly right, sticks a foot out, loads of reaction time, made sure that it hit him directly on the ankle, which put it straight over the bar. I think he's easily won the club man of the match award for that game. I haven't actually checked if that was confirmed, but he was running away with it. Have you sort of seen Cam's last couple of performances? Because I think he's really sort of maybe turned a corner. I think some of the criticism was a bit harsh at times, but
absolutely,
he really has sort of come into his own over the last couple of performances.
Yeah, well, I laugh and sent you a hashtag Free Willy thing on WhatsApp, didn't I, yesterday? But no, I think obviously let's not forget obviously the post. Was it Samara using his foot to good effect before he got sent off? I can't remember, was it Brooks? I forget now. But yeah, that helped as well. But no, he's been excellent, and I think it's the degree of difficulty, isn't it, that he showed. As we know, he got Premier League Keeper of the Year because, of course, he was peppered with shots every time Luton played before they got relegated. So yeah, I mean they really are high quality, and as I say, some of the 2 pretty much point blank. And he has come into his own, and without him, we would not have got the 3 points. Absolutely no doubt. So yeah, I mean they could have been sort of through. I think Bindon had a header, didn't he, that cut wide. They could have conceivably been 4-0 up before the first sending off, and then they could have coasted it. And with 9 men, they would have still taken the mix. So yeah, no, he's been absolutely great. And I think having a presence like him behind you must give, the likes of Lloyd and Macca a great reassurance. I mean, obviously, the less work he has to do, the better. But then when we are being cut open by quality teams like Sheff Utd, and they showed great quality in that first half hour before Samara got sent off. There was only one team out, it was like the Alamo. And he was back there doing his own John Wayne version of John Wayne, keeping them out, So it was very good. And I know he's had well publicised issues with Stoke and what have you. But all in all, he's been absolutely excellent, and he's certainly saved a number of points for us in the last few weeks for sure. Yeah, he's a top quality keeper. So I know I as you know, I moan and groan and bitch and whine most of the time anyway about whatever. I don't need an excuse, but with him, I talk about his distribution and some of his claiming of crosses. But as I say, if you think of it all in the round as to what he does bring to the team, I think actually, if we were going to start Will or even Ash, then we just would not have the same quality there. So yeah, I think he's more than earned his 20 grand a week, at least for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I should give because I've been critical of him and I wasn't on here last time. I should give Will his flowers for the game against Chelsea. I thought he was actually excellent, to be fair to him. And I am happy that we do have a quality backup if needed. Stephen said to come. There were 2 decisions I think yesterday in that starting 11 that were, I guess 3, that was surprising. First one, I think the obvious one would be Croy coming in to start a defensive midfielder. Strange choice, I thought. Perhaps Harvey Nibbs started at the 10 role, which was strange because he hasn't started a game for months. And then James Bree is an inverted left wing back. Should I preempt the conversation by saying the less we say about James Bree at left wing back, I think the better for all of our sanities. There is nothing I think that any of us can bring to this conversation that'll make anyone feel better about that. And thank God that experiment, I never have to see it again. So let's talk about the other two. I think there's probably something that was more an interesting decision. How did you react when you saw Croy in that side yesterday? And then maybe Sid, how did you feel when you saw Harvey in that 11? And then we'll get some readouts from the comment section.
Yeah. The Coventry one, I think that probably surprised everyone as soon as they saw the lineup. Granted, I don't think he's been playing that well the last sort of 3 or 4 games, but he's still been Connor Coventry. He's still been in there. He's still been breaking up play. He's still been sort of trying to dictate games. I must be brutally honest. I didn't worry too much because I do like Karoy and I do like the energy that he brings to the side. The only thing that I worried about yesterday, would he have Connor's discipline? Would he sit in front of the back 4, back 5, back 3, whatever you want to go? Would he sit there? Would he do a job? Would he be disciplined? Would he allow others to play rather than rampaging through and getting caught? And then we'd be in a situation where, like Southampton at home, we'd have a team that had quality that were cutting through us. But yeah, ultimately, I think Karoy did a decent job yesterday, and I don't think there were too many major flaws in regards to him and his contribution to the game. But yeah, that one did puzzle me a little bit. You wonder whether potentially he's got a knock, or whether he just needs a rest. That might well have been the case, but I doubt we'll ever know that one in regards to Coventry. But that was a strange one, and probably, a gamble on one of our senior players in a really, really big game. But 1-0 win, he can probably walk away and go, yeah, I made a good decision. So, yeah, nice comments on the Bree one. Nicely put. I was going to say we put an athletic body there, but...
in all fairness, if anybody in the comments, and I mean this, if anybody in the comments has any idea why on earth we did that, please do feel free to let me know. But I think, as I say, for everybody's sanity, I think it's best that we just don't mention it, because I don't actually think it was Bree's fault, and I'm not going to blame him for that. But he looked completely lost. Out there playing left wing back. That was the experiment too far, I think. So Sid, Harvey, and sure we all wish him well. How do you think when you saw his name on the team sheet? I guess it's hard maybe to judge his performance yesterday.
I mean, obviously, up to the point where he got injured, I thought that he did really well. I thought he worked well with Karoy. I mean, I was going to say about Karoy that he was smashing into people, winning the battles. And to be honest, so was Harvey, making the balls, making them play out. And I do think that he sat well nicely in that 10 role. Obviously, it's a bit different because, as you said, Callum, he hasn't started like a game since forever, and he seems to only come on to score the last minute winners. But I mean, since Portsmouth, I think obviously when he got that goal, he might have had a little bit more confidence, but now he's got injured again. Obviously, it's a big shame for him and for us. I mean, the challenge that was made on him was absolutely insane. He's so high up on the leg that his leg just looked like it went like that, and that's just not good to see. But overall, yeah, I thought he had a good performance, but just a big shame that he got injured, and we don't know how long he's actually going to be out for now.
Before we get into what we did against 9 men, because I think there's a very interesting conversation to have about the decisions made, the different decisions maybe that we all would have made, and I want to make that a really open thing. Should we start going through the comments first, and then we'll talk about the red cards?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, evening to everyone that's in the comments anyway. Hope you're all well. There's some very different points of view, some very different comments in here. Tommy's mentioned 3 points is 3 points, however they come. Very true. We got Glenn basically saying we got 3 points. We were playing against 9 men, and all the bad comments on Facebook. Come on, we won, get over it to everyone. Mark's mentioned it was the most Nathan Jones performance I've ever seen, which is kind of a good comment.
It was the Nathan Jones classic 1-0, wasn't it? That wasn't
it? Stuart's mentioned don't get the negativity, to be honest. Sometimes we play well, we get bugger all, but yesterday we got our luck and took the 3 points. Again, very, very valid point. Chris has mentioned that me and Sid were making a cameo on Brazilian's match vlog yesterday. We haven't seen that yet, Chris, so we will will jump on social media afterwards and have a good look at that. Charlie mentioned Sheffield have got Premier League quality in some of their players. Gladly accept those precious 3 points. Very valid. Stuart's also mentioned laughable that Wilder complained about the Reds. 100%. Both of those were red cards. I'm not sure what him and the rest of the Sheffield United fans were whinging about. Chris has backed that up with a comment saying, has Wilder stopped crying yet? Mark, they dominated us so much in the first 30 minutes. Still very concerned when they had 10 men against boys. Charlie's made a comment on James Bree. Bree is no loss. Clark looked good yesterday. Addition and so did the Dykes as well. Matt was disappointed that Charlotte didn't ask who was behind his reasoning to play Bree at left wing back. Borderline criminal and disgusting. So pretty strong points on Matt there. Mark, again, don't agree with the booing. That booing was a result of a really bad month. We mentioned that yesterday. Matt made comment on Jones. Jones's demeanour and brass neck is letting him down and losing his loyal fans. I like him, but I'm losing patience with his attitude. Yeah, very valid comment there, I think, on the back of that. Charlie backed that up, was basically saying that paying public have got a right to voice their opinions, good and bad. Jones is still well in credit, and we aren't asking for him to be sacked or anything. It's just all about building bit by bit. 3 relegation candidates away. Stuart believes that Nathan got a bit of critique from behind the dugout, which left him a bit annoyed. Yeah, probably means... Because he still line, I believe. Yeah.
He was reacted very similarly to how he did against Orient in the Virtue Trophy, and it wasn't about the performance. It was actually someone behind him was giving him real abuse. Yeah. And I sat right behind him. It was absolutely hilarious. But two, it was also like by the end of it, like he genuinely he stormed off that night as well. Not because of the performance, but genuinely what someone was saying was very close to out of line. You sometimes get. I know it really bothers him. Sometimes you get some, and I don't know if this is true or not, but especially if someone's done something that's anti-Welsh, he gets really annoyed about it. Fair enough. So I don't know what someone said, but him reacting like that, I think it's probably someone said something that he thinks has gone over the line.
Yeah. DJ's mentioned a comment there that was very vocal in our part where we were sitting yesterday. That the game was crying out for Apter on the right-hand side. Yeah,
we'll come there. We'll come there. I promise.
Yeah. Support for Kaminsky as well. Ian Medlin. I'd rather be a lucky winner than an unlucky loser. Basically reflecting on the fact that they brought that on themselves yesterday. Mark's mentioned the midfield. More reaction about Kaminsky. Matt wants Coventry back in for Tuesday. Move Karoy out of the team because he was horrendous. Not really sure whether that was the case, but fair play in regards to the opinion. There's a bit of positivity, a bit of negativity. Mark would like to see Fuller in for the 10 for Derby to give some much needed energy. It's not a bad shout as well. Fuller's done well for us. More comment on Wilder. There's a bit of both, bit of good, bit of bad, bit of frustration, bit of acceptance. Yeah,
I think that's to be expected. I think probably 24 hours later, we've all probably calmed down a little bit from whatever perch we were sat at yesterday. Just so we don't have to run through both incidents. One, because they were they're not nice to talk about, either of them, and there's anybody going to make an argument on this panel that one of those was not a red card, or that Sheffield United should have had a penalty, because I can't see in either of them that those are about blatant red cards. The second one, they're saying they're going to appeal, and it's like, what are you appealing? The bit where he elbows him in the eardrum, and Kerry has to change shirt because there's blood on him. What's caused that?
I think on the pen, Callum, my initial thought was it was a pen because obviously Bamford, normally you can tell where people have tried it on and they might go to the referee and moan, but Bamford generally seemed to feel that he was aggrieved, although people have said, well, he kind of initiated the contact, which I guess is fair enough. But equally, I don't know what others felt. I was a bit further away. I couldn't see it particularly well, but I just saw the top half of him go down, so I didn't see the legs get tangled up. But he didn't. He definitely seemed really sort of aggrieved, but I don't know.
It was right in front of me. He definitely used his leg back to initiate contact, and I think that's probably what costs him. The touch isn't particularly too much in it. yeah, I mean, to be fair to Wilder, I thought his pre-match comments were incredibly respectful of us as a club, and he was saying how he almost joined, and it's got a massive working class ethic, and he would have been delighted to be the manager here, and it just ended up working out a different way. So I did think that was very classy. I don't know what was going on at the end there with Sheffield United and people climbing into the crowd and throwing things and them dancing around like they'd won. It was very, very weird. But they were a fantastic away end. I thought it was pretty raucous in there.
Can I just make a comment about Tanganga yesterday, and one that's been mentioned on social media a bit, mostly from their fans. In regards to the first sending off, he was incredibly vociferous in regards to his protests. He never stopped. He was in the referee's ear, and it genuinely looked like to me the ref had just had enough of him anyway. And then to make a suicidal, ridiculous challenge like that, he almost looked like Superman at one point. There's leading with your elbows, but there's leading, with your fingers far out. I don't know what he was playing at, and in regards to the comments that I heard, the referee was looking to send him off. Well, so be it if that's the case. If he was in his ear that much and he wanted to say, "Do you know what, I've had enough." But let's have it right. There's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that that's a straight red card, especially in midair as well. You take someone out that high, that hard in midair, you're potentially looking at a serious concussion injury. You're looking at potential shoulders, etc., etc. That was a poor
eardrum.
Yeah,
that. Like with the point of his elbow, and it sounds funny, but I'm not joking when I say genuinely could have ruptured his eardrum.
Yeah,
it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you can stay in support of your team, and you can be a bit biased, but to turn around and tell the footballing nation that there's nowhere near a red card on that, you're just kidding yourself. You're just playing a game, and that's a straight red every day of the week.
Well, as the cliche goes, he gave the ref a decision to make, but it was probably the easiest decision the ref had ever had to make. So,
yeah,
there you go. End of.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think Mark's comment in the comment that if there's valid red cards to pulling hair, then that was unquestionably a red card. Yeah, it turns out throwing your elbow into someone's ear, surprisingly is a straight red card. Who would have thought it? Although, to be fair, on the penalty shout, I was going to ask the panel, does anybody actually know what a penalty is anymore? Because I question myself whether I know what it is. The rule changes every blooming 3 months. At least it wasn't a handball when we had to sit here for the next 3 hours talking about unnatural body positions. Let's move on to that second half against 9 men. I want to start with the goal. Maybe I'll come to you, Sid. Lyndon Dykes comes on half time. First touch of Charlton player. Assist. Not bad. What do you think of the goal?
It was obviously good because it means Sonny's got another goal, and that's another one to add to his collection, whatever you want to call it. And is he still top goal scorer?
Yeah, it must be.
So obviously that makes him higher up the charts as well. But obviously, Lyndon Dykes, we all had a bit of doubt about him, or especially I kind of did, because at Birmingham he played about 46 games and scored about 3. For a striker, that's obviously not great at all. But obviously, he's kind of got his head up for his Charlton move, and I think he's kind of getting into the flow of it all from what I saw already. Looked energetic, looked like he wanted to be there. And he got an assist, obviously, which was a good header. He got behind the guy, made sure that he got his head in the right place, and there you go. Then Sonny scores. Sonny just doing Sonny things. I
gave Sid the nice question just so that Steve, Paul, and I could just spend the next 5 minutes having a moan. I think maybe all of our specialties. Some of the decisions that were made when they went down to 9 men. Firstly, and this is just my perspective, to stick in a back 5, to stay in a back 5, which I know technically is a back 4 because Tyrese Campbell's bombing forward, I get that. But to stay in a back 5, to play 2 towers up top, which basically means you're just going to knock the ball long. Again, actually, I can understand it if they're going to put a wall up. You try and knock the ball down. Weirdly enough, Sheff Utd didn't actually part the bus. They did actually try and come out a bit, which was strange. Yeah. I was making the argument on my own pod that I think we almost scored too early to be expansive. I think Nathan Jones played the math and he went, well, they're down to 9 men. They're not scoring anyway. I don't want to let Hamer have a shot from 25 yards. But to stick with a back five, to stick with 5 defenders, 4 defenders, I guess, with Tyrese. Corey Anderson, who's a defensive midfielder, and he's more defensive than, probably even than Connor is in terms of his ability to play forward passes. To play 2 massive men up top with no pace on them, it just seemed a very strange way to do it. And I very rarely on these pods talk about changing formation. But against 9 men, surely, Steve, a back 3 would have been secure enough. Did we need to have 5 defenders against 9 men?
No, we really didn't. I mean, that's the question. The question and the answer that needs addressing the most on the back of that nine men. If you've got that wall in front of you, you've got 2 extra players to be creative and find ways to do it. And we had a fair period of time there to at least add 1 or 2 more goals. I'd have even understood it more if you'd have gone and got a second and then shut the game down. So that, even if they do get a fluky break, you still got a goal in hand. But to do it that early and almost potentially say, well, look, if you get one here, we may find it hard to come back. But yeah, I just didn't get it. We didn't need the extra bodies at the back. Strangely, we started playing little tiki-taka stuff as well. There were little balls between 2 players within 5 yards of each other. There were plenty of spaces out on the wings. I think the new guy on the right looked very intelligent in regards to the way that he was creating space for himself. Granted, they had 2 less players than us, but there was a few options where the ball was crying out to be played out to the right really early so that we can get some movement down that side. I think we did it all right on the left-hand side. I think we gave Tyrese plenty of the ball when he came on. But yeah, you just move players into position there. You keep the ball in a place where you're going forward. And as I say, you don't need the bodies at the back, don't you? If you're okay to potentially, look after 1 counter attack every 10 minutes, which is probably what it's going to be against 9 players, then you should be all right. But to go that defensive and to go that negative was just a strange one that I think everyone in the ground just couldn't get their head round. And ultimately, that's why you're seeing some negative comments on social media, potentially from the stands. There'll be a sideways pass and it'll be 1 too many and someone will get up and vent their spleen. And that's just the way football is, isn't it? And football fans are. But as I say, it seemed like a strange one. Yeah, you protect your lead. Oh, absolutely fine. I've got no issues in regards to a tight game, 11 against 11, where it's swinging back to full. Make your place on the edge of the box, set up well defensively. But to do it against 9 men, it was just a strange one for me, and probably one that I've never seen before, to be honest with you. In all my years of watching football, you've seen 10 against 11 when it's dangerous and you've got a good counter-attacking side. But when you normally watch 9-11, it normally ends pretty quickly, doesn't it? And the other thing was that I don't know if it has been discussed. A lot of the Sheffield United players look like they'd run out of legs at the end there. You could have taken the game away from them, beaten them mentally, getting the second goal, and then after the second goal, when you're playing against 9 men that are mentally beaten and physically beaten, you go on and get 3 or 4 in certain situations. But it just seemed a strange one to me. Strange decisions, strange substitutions, and strange tactics. But again, we got the 3 points. He ran off in a huff, and he can
fire shots off his indicator, won't he?
Yeah, you can fire the shots at us. But as I say, we're here to talk about things like this, and ultimately, football fans, they know their football, don't they? As well as people say, and it's one of those, isn't it? It's a strange one.
And to add to that as well, we're talking about this. Like your keeper's also having a blinder.
Yeah,
you're in a world where it's like, so you're going to play 5 to 6 defenders basically when you throw Corey in there, and you have a goalkeeper that's having a blinder. It's like you would think that. I think what he did, and I'd be interested to know what all of you think on it, actually. This was just kind of an analysis I was doing. I think he played the math. I think he went, I need the 3 points here. Pompey away at Sheffield Wednesday, which is about as free of 3 points as anyone's going to get. They made that difficult, but they got it. Norwich beat Wrexham, right? And we're beating Wrexham at that point. I think he went, I need the 3 points, however many goals, it doesn't matter. The reason he'll be vindicated is if we beat Portsmouth at home on a Tuesday night, we're in 14th. Right, and we're above Southampton as well, Bosterata, who beat us 5-1 2 months ago. So it's a really weird thing. There's a lot of panic going around But I think what he was trying to do, and I'm not saying I agree with it, because actually we'll come to Apter in a minute, because I think there was something you could have done there, right? And we will come to Stuart's thing about the Leeburn for Gordon thing, because that was
100%.
absolutely bizarre.
Yeah.
But I think probably what he was doing is he went, let's play the maths, we'll take the 3 points, and then we can, we go into Tuesday against Eustace Ball in what is going to be one of the worst spectacles of football in the history of the world. Checking Jones against John Eustace. Ugh. But it's one of those where it's like, as I say, you can now go, look, if we win the game in hand, we're 14th. I've done my job. We said, mid-table, everyone would have been happy with that. We've all been delighted with that. Right? You finish somewhere between 14th and 16th. Thank you very much. Let's throw a parade. Like happy days. So I think he was playing the math. But in the same way, Paul, do you not think that you could have either, if you were really worried defensively, if you'd taken Clark off and moved Ramsey out to that right-hand side, and Ramsey can't go forward, right, as a right wing back, it's not his game, but he's athletic enough and can cover a lot of space. They're 2 men down. You move Ramsey over. You can stay in the 3 at the, you technically can stay in the 3 at the back if you want, right? And you bring Apter on the other side, and you've got 2 big men in the middle, and you've got a guy in Carey who likes to stand on the edge of the box and have a hit. Surely that would have made more sense than sticking 6 defenders and a goalkeeper playing a stormer against 9 men. Or am I getting that wrong?
No, in the spirit of doing it to them before they do it to you, you'd think it would be. But to go back to, you talked about him playing the points. A famous Scottish ex-pundit and great player talked about playing the percentages. Yeah. And it's kind of like that. And with all due respect to the erstwhile England manager, I have compared Nathan to Gareth Southgate in terms of his innate caution, his sort of safety-first approach. Now, I mean, as we all know, we started off the season like a train. I know Mark mentioned in the Charlton Live chat this morning about Sam Allardyce, and it's a bit like Bolton used to do. Start off with loads of points and then sort of stumble over the line. It's a bit like that. But we were sort of to my mind, very un-Nathan-like for those sort of first 5 or 6 games when obviously the Raptor played. And then suddenly this sort of inferiority complex coupled with a sort of imposter syndrome seems to have overcome not just the players, but Nathan. And he just goes back to what he does. We've talked about entrusting certain players. He also has a sort of tried and trusted philosophy, basically. We're never going to play glamorous football. It's never going to be a feast of football, except, the occasional night at Portman Road, obviously accepted. And that was a real exception, wasn't it, really, basically? Although we also got pummeled as well in the first half, if I remember rightly.
I mean, Blackburn at home, I think, is probably the best example of when it works.
Yeah, absolutely right. But they were pretty rank. Let's be honest, they were pretty rancid, from what I can remember. But anyway, maybe I'm doing them a disservice. But yeah, as I say, it's just they were down to 9 players. So you would say, as I said, look, we're 2 players. That should be a training session. We should take them apart. At least win going away with ease, sort of thing. But I just think that he was so concerned about some of the qualities of their players, and they did still pose a bit of a threat. I mean, it was interesting. I think it was Brooks at the end, wasn't it? You talked about them looking out of breath or whatever. I think it was Brooks at the end. He was like one of those marathon runners, running out of gas, walking towards the line and sort of rubber legs sort of thing. So they'd given it all, despite all the game management that I mentioned earlier on. So, they were there for the taking. But it was just, as you say, it was just this sort of innate sort of caution, let what we have, we hold. I mean, to some extent, I agreed, he tried to make the ball do the work, to coin the cliche, the passing it around at the edges. But they, of course, they weren't for pressing. They were happy to sort of go back into their low block. And I mean, we had plenty of possession, obviously, that second half, as you would expect. But we just couldn't do much with it. And I don't think it was just the case that they were marking space and cleverly blocking off the angles. I just don't think we haven't got the quality. We talked before about unlocking the door. If we'd have had, Luke Berry from 5 years ago, for example, we would have been laughing, but we haven't. And I think, as I said, it showed just how far off we are in terms of sort of lacking quality, because, man for man, they were far superior to us, and 9 against 11, it was almost equal, really, if you think about it that way. So, but I'd agree. You would say they're down to 9 men. Let's go for it. Let's keep 3 at the back. Let's keep it tight, and let's bring Rob Apter on. Because why not? And there was and I think I can understand as we said, the booing, because it was like, well, come on, you know, we've got an ideal opportunity now, take advantage, and we're not doing it. And as I say, our inferiority complexes seems to be kicking in. We don't believe we can take the game by the scruff of the neck. I thought it was quite crucial. I mean, I said to you, I was buzzing when we got Lyndon Dykes, because I knew that with all his nous, he'd help us out. And sure enough, as you said, first touch, first assist. You know, great. But yeah,
as well.
Exactly.
Header.
Yeah, absolutely right. But it's just as you say, it's like knocking it to the big lads, sort of thing. It's just knocking diags, getting Macca to knock diag after diag, and it's like, you know, is this the diet we're going to be served? You know, bread and dripping and gruel for the rest of the season, basically. And as I said, you know, we had it was crying out for the Raptor. You know, this is a guy. I mean, you have to ask the question. It was obviously on the Twitter space that Charlie and Mark posted yesterday. You know, why buy Rob Apter if you're going to just put him on the bench? He's an out-and-out winger. He's not a wing back. He's not a right back. Just, you know, square pegs in square holes, please. And you know, and you mentioned James Bree. Talk about a square peg in a round hole. You know, what was that all about? I mean, it's nuts. Basically, you know, Ibi Fuller, I would have said myself. I know Mark agrees, put him on there, but that's another issue. But yeah, it's just you know, completely. You know, we sort of go into our shell, and we had the ideal opportunity to come out of our shell, and it's just, you know, you sort of, you know, banging your head against a brick wall sometimes. So I appreciate, you know, we got the 3 points. You know, we fulfilled the job we set out to do, I guess, for that second half. But still, it's like there should be so much more. I know, you know, we do lack quality, as I've said, but in that situation, surely, you know, we should have made a better account of ourselves. And you know, tiggy tacker, whatever. I mean, you know, let's just try and have an effect on them. Let's really put them under pressure. And I'm not sure we really did. And that's pretty criminal. So I can understand, you know, people being incredibly negative about it. But again, that doesn't explain or excuse Nathan's anger, because, you know, you pays your money, you takes your choice, you criticise as you're allowed to do. And you know, it's 2 years since he came in. He can't keep saying, well, you know, we've come a long way since, you know, we were 15 games, you know, defeated or whatever it was. You know, yes, we have come a long way, but, you know, at the moment, you know, we're not going anywhere fast. And as I say, it's you know, we're quite entitled to criticise, because, you know, particularly, you know, we had a free hit there, and we were just pretty, you know, as I say, we brought our pop guns in the first half, and I think we just used up, you know, we didn't bring our sort of artillery for the second half when we should have done. So yeah, it was all pretty poor, to be honest with you. But yeah, as I say, we got 3 points. I suppose we shouldn't moan, according to the manager. So there you go.
Before we do the comments, Sid, I'm going to ask you about quite possibly the stupid substitution I've ever seen. In the 94th minute, they have a long throw. You take off your lad who is 6'5", and for all of his the holes in his game, he is very, very good at defending inside his own box. To bring on someone who's about 5'6", to try and win a defensive header at the end of the game against 9 men. I don't know if that was a PR exercise. I don't know if it's trying to get the fans back on side. But what on earth did you make of that substitution with about 20 seconds to go?
I mean, it was pretty crazy, because how can you take Miles off when he's that tall and he can actually win headers? But then again, I did like to see Gordon back on the pitch. You know, it was kind of a relief for everyone, I thought. And, you know, it just kind of makes his markers, you know, he's back, like, after all this time of him not playing for the whole season. So yeah, I was happy to see Gordon's back, but obviously you don't do that when you're in that situation. You know, like, he could have come on for anyone else, but then you pick the tallest person basically in the team for that, and it just doesn't make sense.
I'm thankful that I'm not the only one that thinks that's one of the weirdest things ever. It was just a very weird game that seemed to get weirder and weirder and weirder as it went on, and ended by us all booing as we won, and Sheffield United fans having a dance party after being down to 9 men and losing. And at the end of it, all of us being a level on the same number of points. Because that's the way that football works sometimes, everybody.
Yeah.
Honestly, if somebody tried to... That is one of those games that I think as much as I won't remember it, I don't think I'll ever forget it either. In terms of if somebody is on the Sheffield side and can explain that thing at the end, please do, because that was really, really weird. Right. So we have a couple more reads to the comments. I know I've let that go. Sorry, everybody. I should read from the comments more.
Yeah, that's, Mark's mentioned that it was a good time to see the 4-2-3-1 with Apto on one side and TC on the other. I think everyone in the ground potentially might have liked to see that at that particular time. Stuart's mentioned that he thinks having TC and Apto on the field might have stretched us, which might have enabled Sheffield United to come back at us. And also mentioned that Nathan Jones is naturally risk averse. I actually felt that anyway. I just
against 9 men.
Yeah,
we're going to get stretched by 9 men. We've got 2 more men on the pitch.
DNA, Callum.
Yeah,
and really it's 8 men because they have a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I think
don't make it worse, Callum. Don't make it worse.
Yeah, I mean, Mark summed it up there, saying that the fans really wanted to see us go for blood after a tough months of games, and I think that would have satisfied a few fans yesterday if we'd have really gone after them yesterday. But hey, it wasn't to be. Stuart's mentioned the fact if we'd have won 3-0, we'd have gone above those guys. 3 points to Charlton way works for me, James. We had a free hit, used it, won the 3 points. James again. Godden deserved the applause. That was very, very, very relevant as well. And Matt mentioned Godden should have had 10 minutes, not 30 seconds, which makes the substitution even more bizarre. If you look at it that way as well, yeah.
I would have been happy with that.
Yeah. But Jack potentially backs that up by saying that he did it because he thought he had to keep the fans happy. Well, ultimately, keeping a clean sheet was going to do that anyway, which is great. James Mooney mentioned Jones is missing the point that we don't want to be in League One. He wasn't there for most of it and probably won't be there if we get relegated. That's why everyone's so desperate to stay up. Very fair comments there in that respect. Mark's mentioned the fact that if they had 11 or even 10 yesterday, we would have likely lost, and that would have been 2 points above the drop. This league's very, very, very tight, and that is the case. And Stuart's just topped it off by saying, don't think Nathan Jones does PR.
He has a PR. He's
very valid
his PR advisor. Good gracious me. That'd be a job that you...
God,
you need a lot of whiskey every night if you're a PR.
He sacked his PR manager last week, I think.
Yeah.
I like Nathan. I'm just taking the mickey. I think just this is just a point that I want to make, and I'd just be intrigued to get a really quick sort of reaction to it, and then we'll move on to chatting about Eustace Ball and the excitement of Derby County on Tuesday night. Which is, I think that there's that you do see it through some of the comments that there is a sense of panic that personally I don't share, but I can understand it, right? I can understand it. I think that, and I've been banging on about 2 things for the entirety of my time talking into a microphone, which is left wing back and how much that irritates me. I got it in again just to make sure I got it in this podcast. It's like my weekly tradition, but also expectation management, right? And I think part of it to me is a lot of people, and I think the burn to me just kind of reflected some of this. And I got it from you didn't go for the blood against 9 men. I do understand that, and I do, as I say, I respect everybody's right to express whatever opinion they want, even if I disagree with it. But I think that for some, and it's only some, I think for some of the people saying that they wouldn't mind finishing 21st, they don't like what looking at like 21st actually looks like. Right? It's one of those things where for me, I'm kind of like, I don't think we're underperforming or overperforming. I think like this is kind of the area of the table I thought we'd be in. I knew that it would be difficult. I mean, the teams that we're level with, I mean, they've got Hamer. We don't have a Hamer. They've got a Bamford. We don't have a Bamford. Right? We're level with them. We don't have a Josh Murphy at Portsmouth, right? And we're above them. Right? We don't have half the players Norwich do as well. Right? So I think that for me, I don't think the league position is the thing where you need to massively panic. You basically need to get to about 47 and you'll be safe. Well, that's 5 wins from 19 games, most of which are at home, right? And we play both Norwich and Portsmouth at home. And we go to Oxford and there's the free hit at Sheffield Wednesday, although knowing our luck, their administration will be sorted the week before we go, and it'll be a big, massive party there, because that's what happens to Charlton Athletic. But I think that for me, I do think that I think some of the panic maybe isn't necessary at the moment. But I'd just be intrigued to kind of see where you guys are in terms of the table, where we're going, and sort of comparative to your expectations coming in.
Yeah, similar to you in that respect, Callum. I thought we'd have a tough season this year. I was pleasantly surprised, very pleasantly surprised about our start. And when you're up there in fifth, as you mentioned, it looks good, looks nice. Seeing your team up that high, you're sort of battling it out, and then stupidly you start thinking about playoffs and stuff like that, which is ridiculous. But as I say, ultimately things happen, and you're looking at the league and you're looking below you, and you're thinking of there 3 teams that are less likely to find form between now and the end of the season. And ultimately, I think we'll be all right. But I think there's a broad section of our support that are just petrified that we'll end up in League One again. And let's have it right. I mean, that would be horrific. There wouldn't be many away games that I'd be doing next season at all, because I think we're all just sick of it, aren't we? And I think we've seen a little bit of the light of the Championship. We've looked at some of the sides we've played, some of the support that's come to the Valley, some of the atmospheres we've been involved in, and you don't want to lose it. So I think genuinely we are all a little bit edgy in certain games, but we should have more than enough to stay up. And if he does some more work in the window, which we're all hoping that he will do, and add some numbers, quality, and depth into the squad, we should have more than enough, to be honest with you. But yeah, in regards to where we are now, this was kind of a place that I potentially thought we might well be. So not massively surprised. I think some of the hope that we had at the start of the season gives me a bit more optimism that we could potentially string 3 or 4 results together, get some confidence back in the team, and then maybe jump a little bit higher, and where I thought we might be fighting it out. So yeah, I'm okay. But as I say, I think we're all a little bit, tiny bit apprehensive. And the 2 words of League One don't want to come into my vocabulary. I'm not interested.
Are you trying to tell me that you won't be at the Lamex next year, Steve? Is that what you're
Yeah, that might be a very, very true statement.
I'll have to go into those blooming roundabouts again. Sid, how are you feeling about where we are in the table so far and the season so far? Nervous?
I think from the start of the season we started really strong. I mean, I think we were in 5th at one point. But then, I mean, for example, we had players like, when we got, for example, let's just say Brew, he started so well and then he dropped off. So that kind of, made the performances go down a bit. And I mean, I think we'll be fine, but we do need to start picking up a few more points. I mean, Norwich was shocking. Portsmouth was heartbreaking. But then we started to pick up a bit more form, like, Coventry draw. That's fine. I'll take it. I mean, they're the league leaders. They're a lot above everyone else. I'll take it. We've had a few other games like that. Like, as we mentioned, the Blackburn game at home, 3-0. I mean, that's brilliant. Even our Sheffield United away game, 1-0. So I do think that, we are a good team and we definitely can pick up a lot more points than what's expected of us. But I just think that the work needs to be put in and everyone just needs to stay together as a unit and make sure that the job actually gets done. And I do think that mid-table would be a good position for us because obviously it's not League One. It doesn't mean us relegation. So I would just like to be in that area where we can then, do the grounds that we might have missed off this season and do the teams that have come down from the Premier League and do the teams that are coming up from League One. Would be great. So I'll take that. But yeah, nowhere near relegation, please.
And Paul, time for your therapy check-in. How are you feeling? The chat's moved on to a conversation about if the manager throws his toys out the Prem. It's a great read for anyone watching. Please do go down and have a read of it. But I don't quite know where they've ended up going down that rabbit hole, but fair enough. Sorry, Emma.
Like it.
I can't control the comments in the same way. But Paul, how are you feeling about where we are, where we're tracking at the moment? As Charlie says, that is about right. We're tracking to about 55. No team has ever gone down with 55 points before. I think was it James who was saying that it should be about it could be 50-ish. I think it's going to be just below that. I think if you're about 48, you'll be you should be okay. How are you sort of feeling about sort of getting there? That's 16 to 18 points.
Absolutely,
with the majority of games at home.
Just to say
that that's possible.
Yeah, by the way, the manager doesn't be able to control his own comments, but that's another story. When I think it was you I told, I knew we were getting Lyndon Dykes, I said, providing he stays next season, I might reinstate the HMS Pistol League hashtag. But we've obviously got quite a bit of work to do before that. And let's be honest, let's not beat around the bush. We've been hovering above the relegation zone, and a lot of the teams around us have been winning. So you can understand people being worried. And also, I think someone mentioned that we had 32 points at the same stage in 1920, and look what happened. But obviously, things are a lot different. We lost Conor Gallagher. Josh Cullen was injured at some point. And I don't want to mention him, Steve, for your benefit, but obviously Lyle Taylor got injured. And then, of course, COVID hit. And we know what happened after that. So, our best striker decided to go on strike. But as I say, I won't trigger you, Steve, so I won't carry on with that. But yeah, so things are different. So I think, as you said, we've got, I mentioned Bolton before. We've kind of done a Bolton. We've stacked up the points, sort of early doors. We've got, as you said, 19 games to go, and surely we can cobble together, 9-10 points from that, or slightly more. We have got more home games, and that's crucial. Home games against teams that we should hopefully beat. We have, we noticed a real drop off in quality. We had those 4 or 5 teams, obviously Borough, Saints, and I forget the other 2 or 3. But it was, but we really saw. We noticed when we play Oxford after that, we really noticed a drop off in quality. They're down near us. Same as Pompey. We're unlucky. Obviously, as we know, we're unlucky at Pompey. We should have. I thought we were the better team. And it's just one of those things. And, as I said, the highs and lows of football, as I tweeted at the time. But, as I say, we've got plenty of chances now to get those points. And, those home games are going to be absolutely crucial. But I just feel that, we need to try and throw off the shackles, this sort of collective inferiority complex. We need to try and, attack. I think Ibby Fuller, when it's criminal that Ibby's not been playing. So I certainly want him playing against Derby. In that left sort of wing back position, he's an excellent. He's the epitome of the player that I like. He's young, he's incredibly skillful. He's got no fear, and I don't think even sort of 5-6 years from now he's going to have any fear. And that's what you want. And it's ludicrous that we're looking to an 18-year-old to lead us up the table or whatever. But that's kind of what it's come to. I noticed that Rob and Goddard were warming up at half time, and they were having a good chuckle together, which is great to see because obviously we've heard that Rob's perhaps a bit discontented. And I really want to see that, Rob gets his opportunity. But I don't want it to be a situation where we're sort of going for broke because we're desperate. I think we need to be proactive. The manager talks about the front foot. We've heard that so many times. But yet, a lot of the time, he goes against his own philosophy. He's on the back. We're on the back foot, as we were against, against in the last game. So it's just, I'm. Mentioned that the substitution, it's just things don't add up. That was a weird game, as you said. The substitute, it was great to see Dollars on, as Sid said, but we wouldn't have been laughing if they'd have scored from that throw-in. When you've got this 5'7" guy trying to defend against 6'5" sort of monsters or whatever. So it's just it's all sort of baffling. I just wanted to put square pegs in round holes. Sorry, he's been putting square pegs in round holes. I want him to put square pegs in square holes. It's not that difficult, is it? I know we've had an injury crisis, but what are you doing again? Putting James Brea sort of left wing back, what is going on? It's just he's not played before. He's certainly not played there for us. And in his last game, purportedly, he may come back after the summer. I don't know, but yeah, it's just what on earth are you doing? And that kind of in itself worries me because it's like is Nathan's sort of logic? Well, you can argue that a lot of his decisions the whole season through have not been logical, but that was particularly logical. And you need clear thought. We go on about our NFL teams and the lack of thought and the sort of lack of logic in some of the decisions. And it's like, come on, we need to sort of circle the wagons and actually really, what are we? What's our identity? Are we front-footed or are we going to be cowed by the opposition? I know what his players probably want to do. Well, certainly some of them. So I think we just need to be, we don't want to be reckless, obviously, but he's taken it to the other extreme, hasn't he? Really. So I think, as I say, We need to make sure that when we play those teams around us, Pompey, Norwich, we have to actually, really take it to them. Because I think, we are, obviously the Sheff Utd and the Boroughs of the world, they're miles ahead of us, Coventry or whatever. But there are quite a number of teams that are sort of much of a muchness. And I would include West Brom in that.
They're not miles ahead of us, though, Paul. They're level with us currently.
Absolutely. Sorry, but I mean they will. But I think they will go up the table. Obviously.
Yeah, so do I.
But the point I'm trying to make is that basically, there are teams around us that should be around us, if you like, and we're just as good as they are, if not better. So as you said, we just need to make sure we press home the advantage in those games against Norwich, Pompey, and the like. West Brom. So I mean, I'm certainly not overly worried. I think we've got enough in the tank. We've got enough points, 32 points now. We've got, as you said, 19 games to go. That should be more than enough, to cobble together, 10 or 12 points surely from that, particularly from the home games. And we'll hopefully, 3 weeks from the end of the season, be sort of getting out of the cigars. I hope. Not that I'm, promoting smoking, you understand, but hopefully, we can sort of, put our feet up and have an enjoyable summer. And as Steve said, not, go anywhere back to the accursed League One. But I can perfectly understand why people are getting worried. And this is, as we know, a scarred fan base. They've seen so much over the years. But hopefully this year, we won't have to worry. It's going to be a bit tight at times, I'm sure, a bit of squeaky bum time. But I think come end of April, beginning of May, I think we should be sort of home and hosed, and we can sort of hopefully relax, but then push the boat out over the summer and get a few quality players in. But that's obviously for sort of 4 or 5 months' time. Let's not dwell on that for now.
All right, just before we go, because Emma's going to be annoyed with me that I'm going to overrun, but oh well. Let's just have a really quick chat about the potential crime against football that will be committed on Tuesday night at the Valley when Nathan Jones's swashbuckling front-footed football comes up against John Eustace's Barcelona-style tiki-taka. So Nathan Jones's very cautious football goes up against John Eustace's not very exciting forward play. I guess you sort of said it, Paul. You'd like to see Fuller come in at left wing back. I think probably all of us would agree that we'd like Coventry to come back in the number 6. I'd put Kerry back in the number 10 if I'm honest with you. Other than that, I don't see a massive amount changing. The back 3 is going to stay as that back 3. I would have thought Clark was good. Kaminsky's Kaminsky. I think JRC will stay. I don't think JRC was great yesterday, but I think he'll stay in there. I guess it's just that left wing back slot. If I'm honest with you, Paul, I'm almost certain it will be Tyrese Campbell that slides in there.
You don't say.
But if I'm honest with you,
surely not.
I'm almost certain that's going to be what's going to happen. Which actually, Mark put it in the comments. I think he's about right. You can actually do what we did with the Apter when Edwards was fit. You played that sort of asymmetric back 5. You actually could do that with TC here, and you could use Clark playing much deeper, and then you could actually use TC going forward if he wants to do it that way. But just before we go, really quickly, has anyone got any predictions other than we're in for an exciting 5-all draw in these two? Let's start with you, Steve. What are you looking out for on Tuesday? Do you have a score prediction for us?
Yeah, like you, I don't think it'll be a connoisseur's dream on Tuesday night. I think we might be in for some turgid stuff. But yeah, I mean, if they seem to be a very different side to the team we played away from home that we look much better than, and they've seemed to got that Millwall mentality at the moment where they seem to be grinding out results and getting wins every week, and they've significantly climbed the table. But yeah, again, by what I saw in the last game, I'd like to think that we'll certainly be competing very, very, very right up there, with these guys on Tuesday night. So I'm hoping for a positive performance. I'm hoping that the guys attack more than they did on Saturday. And if I'm going to go for a prediction, I'll take a 2-1, please. And I'll have goals from Charlie and Sonny.
Sid, what you got for us?
I was going to say 2-1 as well, but I'll go a bit different and go for, I always say a Lloyd Jones header because I'm just waiting for the day because it never seems to be happening. But he always seems to, on Saturday, like literally yesterday, I mean, how can he literally have like? I thought he was going to score a header, and then it gets cleared off the goal line. It's like, just score.
He'll do it for you, Sid.
Yeah, bit frustrating. But anyways, yeah. So a Lloyd goal, and let's also go for if he plays. You know what? To open the account, we're gonna go for a Harry Clark goal.
Ooh.
But you know, why
there you go.
not? And no, Mark, we don't want a Tyrese Campbell goal. Joking. We would love a goal, but someone else.
It's quite something to see Mark and Sydney's weekly banter on Tyrese Campbell in the stands. It's quite something to listen to. Yeah.
And finally, let's get Paul. Before Paul does his, I'll let Paul lead us out. I'm gonna be really annoying. I'm gonna go with the Nathan Jones Classic 1-0 because I never predict that. But to be honest with you, if I can grind out 2 1-0s at home, and take 6 heading into the South East London derby, well, that I would be more than happy with that. How about you, Paul? What you got seeing on Tuesday?
Yeah, turd is a good word, Steve. It sounds sufficiently like turd, to be fair. But yeah, no. I mean, I don't mind. It won't be a feast of football unless there'll be a turn up of the books. But any win, I'd be happy with. 1-0. So hopefully, or maybe, and I'll go for 2-0. I'll go for Godders and Lyndon Dykes to break make his first Charlton goal. So 2-0, yeah, hopefully. Wildly optimistic, perhaps, but there we are.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tyler was working and Emma wasn't feeling very well, so hopefully we'll have Emma back on Wednesday to get back to hosting duties. But until then, enjoy the game on Tuesday. Stay safe, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers all.
Take care.
Emma, are we still live?
Hello.
Sorry, everybody. This isn't very professional.
Is it going to come up on the official bloopers reel, this one?
Hopefully no one's watching anymore.
Don't worry, I'm asking her in the chat to turn us off.
This is more fun than I had at the game on Saturday.
Oh dear. I'm still rolling.
God.
I was going to say this needs a bit of your show business, Paul. This does.
And now Paul will do his rendition of the Red Robin.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Just watching Love Island.
No, I'm going to do the old Wrexham Circus job, innit?
Yeah, exactly.
I might get a clown out somewhere. Is she not? Where is she?
I've said to turn us off, but yeah. And we did get to hear a bit of Love Island there, didn't we, in the background?
We did actually, yeah, no, absolutely. Because isn't Harry Clark's girlfriend from Love Island or something, I heard. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Look at Paul down with the kids.
There you go.
Oh, sorry, are you done? Sorry. Sorry,
No.
fuck's sake. Sorry, bye. Love you.